You just worked through a second scenario where the binding constraint shifted, and you saw firsthand why reusing a design from scenario A fails. Now we move into the agentic loop itself, the core mechanism that keeps an agent running until a stop condition is met. This module shows you how to write that loop against stop reason, and how to cleanly separate model-driven decisions from pre-configured control flow. By the end of this module, you can write the loop against stop reason and separate model-driven from pre-configured control. Here is how this module builds up. The agentic loop is the control flow that lets Claude act autonomously. You send a request, inspect the stop reason, execute any tools it asks for, and feed the results back. It is not a chatbot loop that stops when the model says goodbye. That's the distinction people get wrong. The boundary is strict, only the stop reason field decides whether to continue or stop. Without this, agents fail silently in production. If you parse the assistant's text for "I am done," a model update that changes the phrasing breaks your loop. If you cap iterations as the primary stop, a complex task that needs 10 tool calls gets killed at 5. The cost is an agent that either never finishes or stops too early. Both look like the model is broken, but it's the loop that's wrong. Let's work through the case where the model emits 3 tool use blocks in one turn. You execute all 3, build 3 tool result blocks each carrying the matching tool use ID, and append them as a single user turn. The alternative, returning only 2, is an API error, not a silent skip. The loop then sends the updated messages back to Claude. It inspects the new stop reason. If it's tool use again, you execute more tools. If it's end turn, you return the final text. The other cases, like a turn with no tool use blocks, are on the page, but this one shows the contract. Every request must be answered. The durable rule is this: the agentic loop is driven by stop reason, not by guessing what the model meant. Tool results go back as structured blocks, not as free text, because that's how the model reasons about its next action. Reject parsing natural language signals to decide termination. It's an anti-pattern because it replaces a reliable API contract with a brittle heuristic. An iteration cap is a safety net, never the primary stopping mechanism. It's there to catch bugs, not to end tasks. On the exam, they test this by giving you a loop that parses the assistant's natural language text for a closing phrase, or that uses an iteration counter as the main stop condition. Those are the distractors. If you see an option that checks whether the turn contained text content as a completion indicator, it is wrong by construction. Remember, stop reason is the only reliable signal. Model-driven decision-making means Claude looks at the conversation, understands the intent, and picks the next tool. Pre-configured control means you write code that forces a specific order, regardless of what the model thinks. The distinction people get wrong is treating this as a binary choice: either everything is model-driven or everything is a decision tree. The exam always asks you to place the line between them, because real systems need both. Without this separation, you get the guarantee gap. If you rely on a prompt to enforce a rule like verify identity before refund, the model can still skip it. Maybe the message is urgent, maybe the context window is full. In production, that means a refund goes out to an unverified customer, and you eat the loss. On the other side, if you hardwire every tool sequence, the agent cannot adapt when a customer asks something unexpected. It becomes brittle, and you lose the agility you built the agent for. Placing the line prevents both failures. Take the second requirement: never issue a refund before the customer's identity is verified. You look at this and ask, what happens if it goes wrong? The answer is financial loss. Money leaves the business to someone who should not get it. That consequence means you cannot leave this to a prompt. So you choose pre-configured control. You write code that checks identity first and blocks the refund tool until that check passes. The alternative is letting Claude decide the order. That loses because even a well-prompted model has a non-zero failure rate, and on a financial gate, 0 is the only acceptable rate. The other 2 requirements are on the page, but this one teaches the line. The durable rule is this: let the model decide what, enforce in code what must never vary. In any system you build next year, classification of ambiguous input and ordinary tool selection belong to the model. Steps with financial consequence, safety impact, or irreversible effects belong in code. The author specifically rejects pre-turn routing classifiers not because they do not work, but but because they bypass the language understanding you are paying for. That is over-engineering that makes your system less capable, not more reliable. On the exam, the distractor is the pre-turn routing classifier, an answer that sounds reliable but is treated as over-engineering. The trap is picking either extreme, hardwiring everything, or prompting for everything. Both are wrong. What they want is for you to place the line and name the consequence that drove your choice. If you can say financial consequence means programmatic gate, you have the answer. This is testcraft, but it mirrors the real design decision you will make in production. Let's lock in the key takeaways. First, never parse natural language to decide loop termination, use stop reason instead. Second, keep model-driven decisions separate from pre-configured control flows. And finally, avoid extremes. Hardwiring everything is over-engineering, but prompting for everything has a real failure rate. Balance is everything.